This is a Midwest Minute with Matt. Before we get started, just a quick note. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice and does not replace evaluation or treatment from a qualified healthcare provider. Listening to this podcast does not establish a provider-patient relationship. Every brain injury is unique, and what we discuss may not directly apply to your situation. If you're experiencing symptoms or have concerns, please seek care from a licensed medical professional. If this is an emergency, call 911 or your local emergency services immediately. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Midwest Minute with Matt, simple concussion conversations that just make sense. I am the host, Matt Campbell, and today we have episode number 21 titled, What If I Don't Sleep Again Tonight? I've said it for years. Sleep is the number one performance-enhancing drug in the world. It matters. Sleep is very important. It matters to our brain health, to our overall health, to our energy, our mood, our performance in sports, and it absolutely matters during concussion recovery. But knowing just how important sleep is can make it unexpectedly difficult if we're not getting it. Because eventually we start to put sleep on a pedestal. It's something that we have to have. It's something that we have to get every single night. And if we're not getting it the way we want to or the way we are expected to, it can be even more challenging and we get a negative relationship with sleep in general. Today isn't going to be an episode based on 10 sleep hacks to get you to sleep better. The goal for today is talking about the relationship that people have when it comes to sleep, especially after a brain injury. Because sleep is something that we could all have a better relationship with. But if you're navigating through your own brain injury recovery, sleep can be one of the most frustrating things in the world. We go from sleeping all the time to not sleeping at all. And today we're going to learn why that relationship is so difficult after a brain injury. Everywhere you turn, you're told just how important sleep is. It's in the media, it's at your doctor's office, it's at your therapist's office, it's everywhere. Commercials, television shows, podcasts, everybody talks about sleep. Then after a concussion, all of a sudden we're not sleeping the way that we want to. Naturally, people want to fix it. They want to get back to sleeping right away. They start thinking about sleep more and more. They start to put sleep on a pedestal because it feels like it's something that we have to have every single day. And eventually thinking I'd really like to sleep tonight becomes I've got to get sleep tonight. And that change is very difficult because now sleep isn't just about sleep. It's about health, it's about recovery, and it becomes a performance. Every single night, we feel like we have to achieve the perfect sleep. And we spend all this time worrying about sleep that it now becomes something that's more of an outcome. We have a good night, we have a bad night, we have a success, we have failure. And we start to associate those things with sleep. And it can become even more difficult if sleep isn't happening. Basing everything on performance can be very difficult after a brain injury because we can feel like we're failing if we don't get a perfect night's sleep. The more pressure that we put on sleep, the more important sleep starts to become every single night. Maybe last night was a terrible night's sleep. You just couldn't fall asleep. You laid awake staring at the ceiling, and then finally, when you fell asleep, it felt like it was right before your alarm and you were back up again to do it again today. Then tonight comes. You're walking around your bathroom, brushing your teeth, you're getting ready for bed, you're looking at the clock, wondering, am I going to be able to sleep tonight? And naturally, you start to think, here we go again. It's going to be the same, just like last night. Everything is going to be the same. And think about it. Tonight hasn't even happened yet. And you've already started to say that it's going to be just like last night. It's going to happen just like we did the day before. We naturally start thinking, I'm not going to sleep tonight. Tomorrow is going to be a terrible day. I'm not going to have energy. I'm not going to be able to do this. How am I going to navigate through my day tomorrow if I don't sleep tonight? And eventually we land on the final question. Why can't I sleep? Sometimes the hardest part of sleeping tonight is carrying what you did during last night's sleep. This is where I want to interrupt that thought process. Maybe last night was terrible. You didn't get any sleep at all, but guess what? Last night happened and there's nothing we can do about it. But last night is last night. That's not tonight. And even tomorrow isn't tonight. One night is a data point. It's feedback. It's one night. It's not a prediction. It's not a verdict. It's not a trend. It's one night. It's not proof that something is permanently wrong with you. Now, stacking a couple bad nights together can make it feel like, oh no, here we go again. And we start to spiral out of control. And now we have to do everything in our power to bring that grasp on sleep back. And it's not easy to do. I'm here to tell you, we're human. As humans, we naturally compare outcomes all the time, whether we're meaning to or not. So it's a natural thing that we're trying to get you to break that cycle. Last night happened. There's nothing that we can do about it. Tonight, we need to do everything that we can to focus on successfully getting you to sleep. Not focused on last night. Don't focus on tomorrow. Focus on controlling what we can control. And ultimately know it's okay to have a bad night's sleep. A bad night's sleep is something that we can use to prepare for tonight. Now think back to your normal sleep routines. Most people think about going to bed right before they start. They talk about trying to get good quality sleep right as they lay down. Sleep starts in the morning. Preparing your body to sleep starts right when you wake up. So when you're going through your day, I want you to think about, what time did you wake up? What did your morning look like? Have you gone out and done any exercise today? Did you take a nap today? What did you eat? When was the last time you had food and drink? All of those things are happening throughout the day that are preparing you to go to sleep tonight. So when we're sitting down trying to figure out how to get somebody to sleep better, one of the first things that I have to have them focus on is the fact that sleep is happening all day, not just when you lay down and go to bed at night. But it's not trying to put together a perfect checklist. It's about recognizing what's important. Sleep starts in the morning. We're not waiting until 10:30 at night to prepare your body to go to sleep. We're starting right as you wake up in the morning. And then we're continuing that preparation as you move through the day. If you've ever had a chance to sit down and talk with me, you have heard the phrase at some point, control the controllables. There is so much in sleep and life in general that we can't control. If we spend all of this time focusing on things that we can't control, we're losing focus on the stuff that we actually can. We need to focus on controlling the controllables. This is a lot bigger than just sleep, but it's an important concept during sleep. You can't force yourself to fall asleep by 10:17 tonight. That's not how it works. You can't lay down and say, you know what, it's 10 o'clock. By 10:08, I am going to be fast asleep. The body doesn't work that way. And the more you try to force that, the harder it's going to be for you to fall asleep. We can't guarantee 8 solid hours of interrupted sleep. We can't guarantee that you're going to wake up tomorrow feeling more energetic than you did today. We can't guarantee that symptoms are going to be lower because you got a great quality of sleep. But what we can focus on is we can focus on preparation. We can focus on your routine. We can focus on making decisions throughout the day that set you up for the best optimal outcome to your sleep for tonight. And we can control learning from what we did the night before and trying to make adjustments for our night's sleep tonight. Focus on the preparation and controlling what we can control, not the outcome. If we spend too much time in life focusing on the outcome, we'll never be able to control anything. We can control only what we can control. And by controlling your routine, we can continue to try to build a perfect sleep opportunity for you each and every night. When you wake up, try to avoid immediately saying whether last night was a great night's sleep or last night was terrible. Look even deeper. What happened? Were you up every hour? Did you sleep for 4 hours and then up every hour? Did you struggle to fall asleep, but once you were asleep, you stayed asleep? Look at what happened during sleep and try to figure out the feedback that we need to help prepare you for today. Maybe you slept poorly despite everything feeling right or doing everything right. That's the frustrating part about this whole process. You could do every single thing right, and you might still have a poor night's sleep. When I'm working with somebody and talking about brain injuries, life doesn't stop. Sometimes we sleep poorly. Other times we sleep great. That just doesn't go away when you have a brain injury. You can do every single thing right. You can prepare, you can control everything that you can control, and we can still have a bad night's sleep. But we need to look at that sleep and say, okay, what happened? What are we noticing? And how can we continue to build towards that day where we can sit down and say, you know what? I had a great night's sleep. We're not looking for perfection every time. We're looking for information that we can prepare, observe, learn, adjust, and compete again. But what does a perfect night's sleep really look like? When I sit down and try to determine a perfect night's sleep, we rarely talk about the hours of sleep that I want somebody to get. Yes, I want somebody to get a long duration of sleep, right? The goal is a high quality and a high quantity of sleep. But for some people, we sleep too much, and that sleeping too much causes us to feel groggy and confused and disoriented. So when we sit down and try to figure out what a perfect night's sleep really looks like, I try to break it down into energy. What does your energy feel like throughout the day? And when somebody has a brain injury, I can sit there and go, you know what, how was your energy today? And a lot of times the answer was terrible. I don't have the energy to do anything. Okay, but was the energy today better than the energy yesterday? That can be a very interesting distinction because oftentimes in brain injuries, they're trying to compare where they're at right now to what their normal used to be. I want to know each individual step. Is today better than yesterday? Is your energy level right now at 4 p.m. better than it was yesterday at 4 p.m.? But what if everything you tried still doesn't work? That's very important because I don't want somebody to leave this episode thinking, if I do every single thing right, I'm going to sleep great tonight. Realistically, that's not what's going to happen every single time. But I can promise you, making sure that you're trying to do everything, controlling what we can control, and preparing you for sleep. You're doing everything in your power to ensure that you're getting a good night's sleep. We're controlling what we can control. We're focusing on the preparation, not the outcome. And even if there's something that you tried tonight that doesn't work, it doesn't mean that we're out of options. Sometimes persistent sleep problems need individualized treatment. It's not just going out and finding something online going, you know what, this person sleeps trying this. I want to try it. That can be an approach for people. If you're listening to the podcast and you're trying to figure out how I can improve my sleep, going to the internet and finding relaxation techniques or way to improve sleep, there is a ton of information that's out there. After a brain injury, though, we need to change one or two things at a time because then we can sit down and say, okay, we changed 1 and 2, that didn't work. Now we're going to move to 3 and 4. Okay, that worked. Now we need to continue to compound 3 and 4. And then if that continues to work, great. But eventually, if that falls apart, we need to know what we've tried and we need to know what we did successfully. So if you change every single thing up on one night, you sleep great. We don't know necessarily what helped. So now you try all of it again and it doesn't work. Now we need to break it down into what's working and what's not. Sometimes it needs an individualized approach. And you know what? That's okay. The goal isn't to convince yourself that you can control something that you can't really control. It's to get you to understand that control is the process that we have to make sure that we're doing everything in our power to get a good night's sleep. Tonight might be a great night's sleep. It might not be. But before your head even hits the pillow, I want you to remember this. Last night isn't tonight. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed how you're going to feel. Prepare the best that you can. Control what we can control and learn from what happens afterwards. At the end of the day, we have another opportunity tomorrow because one bad night isn't a setback. You don't need to punish yourself for having a couple bad night sleeps in a row. And you don't need to immediately assume that you're going backwards in your concussion recovery because ultimately you can't let tonight's sleep determine how you're going to do tomorrow before it even happens. Focus on the preparation, not the end game. And this idea doesn't just stop with sleep. So much of concussion recovery becomes easier to understand when we stop trying to force ourselves to the finish line and start looking at what we can control from day one. That's exactly why I created the 5-Minute Concussion Recovery Guide. It's a free resource designed to help you step back, recognize a few patterns in your concussion recovery, and better understand what might be making those things happen. You can get your free copy of the 5-Minute Recovery Guide at mwconcussion.com/resources. And if you're struggling with your own concussion recovery and would like individualized treatment and understanding, you can schedule your initial evaluation at mwconcussion.com. If you have a question you'd like answered on the podcast or would like to be a guest, you can reach out on any of our social media accounts at MW Concussion. I'd love to have you on and have another Midwest Minute with Matt.